Hello and welcome to Flex Fitness. This week's fitness tip is going to be talking about how to properly manage any nagging injuries you may have. Okay, so it doesn't mean that we're talking about a broken leg or a blown out knee. That's a different discussion when you need to go see your physician, see a specialist about perhaps getting a surgery or a cast. We're talking about overuse injuries, so golfer's elbow, tennis elbow, runner's knee, jumper's knee, all these kinds of things. Any little nagging injury that sometimes is there, sometimes isn't, but most often is bothering you. You need to go pee? Can you wait a minute? On some scale. So what we want to make sure we do is that you listen to your body. Okay, so if you're feeling that tightness, make sure that we're getting a proper warm-up. So whether we're doing leg swings, if we've got tightness in through the glutes, hips area, whether we were doing some shoulder circles because we have tightness in through that shoulder complex and into the chest. Warm-up is very important, okay? And then also on the other end of that spectrum is stretching at the end of your workout, because your muscles go like this. They want to assume a resting leg. So we want to alleviate that DOMS, delayed onset muscle soreness. We don't want DOMS for days, right? So warm up and cool down are very important. Now within the workout, we can always adjust the exercise, okay? So some tips that we can always do is we can change the range of motion. So if I've got sore knees, I'm going to maybe not go right down ass to grass, right? We want to make sure that we're adjusting and we're still firing in through the quads and our glutes. Okay, we can also adjust the stance here, angle our toes out, and we can also, when we get to the bottom, let our legs bow out. Okay, now again, it depends on the injury. When we start talking into the back injuries, those are quite different, and we might have to use a bench of things of that nature. But adjusting the range of motion is one of the quickest and easiest ways to do that. You can lower the weight. A lot of times with leg injuries, it's those compressive forces, those jumping motions. So we want to have more closed chain where our foot is always on the ground and we have more control there. Those are great ways to adjust your exercises. So if we can't adjust it to still do that specific exercise or something along those lines, then we'll just change the exercise completely. Often I work with clients where we've talked to their physiotherapists and they have parameters and we understand the injury. So we're starting from a very baby steps where we're working with those exercises that physiotherapists will subscribe, and I'll interject some other ones, but it's a slow progression to get us to some bigger movements like walking lunges or barbell squats and things of that nature. So it is very specific to the individual. So as much as your friend may be doing this, it may not be ideal for you. So it's always good to do your homework, talk to a trained professional, because injuries can stick with you forever and they can become demoralizing and just lead you down a path that 20 years from now you wish you had talked to the right person. Icing, I did a segment on icing as well. Icing is really important within that 24 to 48 hours, because when we have an injury that's whether it's acute or it's become chronic, it's still acute in that first 24 to 48 hours where that inflammation is there. And we want to try to reduce that inflammation as best as possible. So ice, C-band, cold, burning, aching, numb is the progression you go through with ice. So don't take it off until you've gone through that progression. Do that a couple times. And once that inflammation's gone down, then we can start introducing some heat. And then even within that 24 to 40 hours, after you've done a workout, if there's not too much inflammation, you can maybe just do a quick ice and some heat right after it. But within that 24 to 48 hours of an injury, acutely or chronic, make sure that inflammation is come down. There's obviously Advil and things of that nature, but if we can refrain from using those things and stick with more natural, that's more ideal, right? Drugs should be our last kind of resort. So these are all great things. There's obviously things like wraps and tensor bandages and things like that, but that borders on more of a true injury where something's perhaps slightly torn, like a meniscus, etc., where we would consult with a specialist. But when it comes to everyday nagging things that we've been talking about, those are kind of my rules of thumb, and definitely don't cookie cutter yourself with your friends. Look at yourself as the individual. All right, so if you have questions about today's video, any of our other videos, or you'd like to follow us on our blog, you can sign up for our monthly newsletter. You can follow all of our social media platforms. You can follow that link at the bottom there. It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. And we're going to talk to you soon. Have a great day. Take care. Keep flexing your fitness. Lincoln, are you going to say goodbye?
Bye.
Bye.